Uh, okay, we're recording now.
So Gary just posted AOTB meeting starting now in the Keybase chat. So is this now is this group now a Keybase chatbot group, or are we still working on the distributed?
No. We are an Art on the Blockchain group, and that's what this meeting is about. And I'm a bot fanatic, so don't let all my bot activities think I'm trying to take over things. You know, I was sort of ribbed this morning about my fascination with bots. You know, and they're trying to move to human-centered, platform now, and the bots are becoming passe, I'm afraid. But no,
There was something I wanted to share with you, Gary. There's actually this. I was thinking about this. I just went on a walk about an hour ago, and I was thinking about there's actually this very famous artist named Darius Kazemi, who does chatbots as his art sort of practice. And I didn't get time to look him up. I'm going to send you some links to him.
Yeah, I want to look at it.
Because he mostly does them on Twitter, like Twitter bots.
Yeah, I do those.
That's like kind of his his MO. And there's like a few other people actually, that now I think about it, that like work with bots in different ways, which I think you would probably find really interesting, because they're not necessarily doing what you're doing. They're sort of more like kind of I don't know, a bot as provocateur type of things, you know, which is also kind of fun too, you know, considering that there's Russian troll bots running the universe now.
So Gary's done a lot of generative grammar stuff in terms of generating poetry or diagrams or whatever. So you know, he's definitely definitely what he's been doing.
Well, and so I guess the question is, how do we sort of tie all these loose ends together, you know, and create? I hear something from somewhere.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, so Gary's like super, like, it feels like this art on the blockchain project in Keybase is like you're putting a lot of effort into that. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, how do we sort of tie all these sort of loose ends together? And then there's Michael's interest in sort of using the AOTB thing to implement open money. And then there's kind of what I'm coming in with, which is the distributed art object framework. And I see these things not as mutually exclusive. I see them as stacking, you know? So how, like, I have some ideas, but I wanted to sort of hear from you guys, like, what you think a way is that we can sort of integrate things to move forward in like a sort of more linear direction.
Well, I mean, there's going to be some different activity. We should have a place where the different threads are sort of report, you know, like the standard Scrum meeting. You know, this is what I did this week. These are the issues encountered. This is what I'm going to do next week. You know, just each thread, they'll keep us up to date on what's happening with them in, you know, a couple of sentences.
I like that, a scrum.
That's a scrum, yeah.
It's a scrum, yeah, we should do scrums. Yeah, I like that scrum. So one of my, I don't know if I talked to you guys ever about this, but one of my interests is in these processes, like the lean startup, agile development, as performative scores. So the idea of using the lean startup, let's say, right, which is the process by which startups demonstrate their value to investors, using that to create an art object / organization that does nothing except demonstrate its value, or using Scrum and agile development as it is in a way very performative. It's a way of organizing space, you know? But the way in which we use it, I mean, it can be very expanded, right? Like an expanded way of thinking about those things. Does that make sense?
I'm not quite sure how to do that. I mean, it makes me think of I can't think of what it's called. I'll think of it in a minute. You know, where they have this thing where you get points for all the stuff you do, and if you do something that's necessary but unpleasant, you get iocane points from the Princess Bride movie. They take iocane so you won't die from iocane poisoning, whatever. I don't know.
Well, that's like a very literal translation of it, like as sort of like action plus reaction, like value, like labor and value. But I'm wondering if there's if there's something interestingly poetic about these processes. Like if you were to use the lean startup as a performance score, right? Well, what is it this is part of a larger question that we need to ask of like, what is value and how are we demonstrating value here? And I think that there's a lot of potential to demonstrate value in alternative ways, right? If we're saying this is an art project, right? Well, the art, if we say that it's art, then the art basically, it needs to be framed properly in order to become art. I think that's kind of part of the process and why artists need to be involved in that conversation, because they ultimately are the sort of framers of that. But you can use something like the lean startup and it can be self-reflexive, and you can then use it performatively as a group to create art as value. But it's not about numbers, like sort of creating financialized numbers or sort of saying like, you do this, you get these many points. More along the lines of creating gestures, right? Like in the same way that a company will create gestures around how well it's doing in the market. They issue press releases, they do social media campaigns. There's like sort of these, like in marketing, they're like sort of sub stories that get kind of parsed out through these different media channels. And so in a way, what you're doing is demonstrating a story, and that story reflects back on the value of the organization, right? So you can eventually sell the organization for your exit strategy, right? Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here.
No, we're here.
Okay, I'm thinking, to get down to something concrete, okay, the what we created on Saturday, and I guess it was mostly Dan, was this Art on the Blockchain GitHub project. Okay, GitHub has a lot of advanced, project capabilities, as well as ZenHub adds other ones. That's an add-on to GitHub. And so there's a million things you can do with this, and of course, one of them is so we can all come in here and we can hit edit on this. Okay, and then we either accept the edit as a pull request. Okay, if I hit edit.
What are we editing? The code, or are you talking about the README?
I'm talking about the README. There's no code yet. Okay, so here's the markdown for this page, which is we could be tailoring this or updating this to reflect what we are doing. Okay, we have the history here. You can update that.
Yeah, and this is a good snapshot of what someone from the outside sees when they looked at the project on Saturday. Dan, and he was asking us questions about it and building this.
Who's Dan? Dan who?
Dan Connolly.
I don't think I know him.
DC Casey. He's a major guru that everybody listens to all the time and does what he says.
Yeah, he used to run the community building every Saturday morning.
He's an art chain developer?
which was like Dan's office
He-
hours
he-
at one point in time. Sometimes he would play the guitar. Sometimes, I mean, we would. A lot of times we would do roll-out programming.
he is an advanced developer,
and-
highly
Yeah.
sought after, highly sought after.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an elder. Like he was involved with the W3C. I think he still is, isn't he?
Yeah, yes, yes. Back in 2014, no, I mean back in 1994. Okay, Dan and I were both, part of the web developers group, and Dan got pissed off and left. Was going to leave and was leaving, and he left for a couple of years.
Huh.
And
Nice.
at that time, I was just trying to convince him how valuable he was, and, to hang in there. And he sort of quit arching and going through the same thing again with Dan. But he was always so productive, and you're always learning from him. I mean, he has
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
discipline.
Yeah.
I
So-
try to lure him into meetings so that I'll learn something new.
You'd think, how you dealt with him so long, some of it would have rubbed off on me. But,
Oh, really? So you guys like, so this guy's like guru status. So is he
Yeah.
still in our chain, or is he not in our chain anymore?
Yeah, he's been poking his head in the Discord lately, which is encouraging to see. But like Jim said, he's been kind of frustrated lately. He made a really good attempt last year at running like a bounty program. Did he not?
Yeah, and he also led the governance committee formation.
Right.
well, not so much. Special meeting 19, he ran.
Yeah.
He
Right,
ran it's like nothing was happening. So he called a special meeting of members, and he ended up getting like 100 delegate votes from members. And, a lot of the things, the GP001, which is coming up for a vote at the member meeting, that was developed as part of the effort that was done. But activity was run on GitHub also, which is a good way to run things. And, maybe we should try that.
Run things off GitHub. I mean, I just actually learned a little bit how to use GitHub. Last 2 weeks ago, my friend gave me a tutorial because I'm still pretty confused about it. I'm using something called Fork. It's like a GUI to do pull
What's that?
requests and stuff.
What's that on Apple?
Yeah, because I was trying to collaborate on this music project with my friend remotely, and we were trying to version control the music, the file, the music file, but it was I don't know, it wound up being really too hard, and so I'm using Google Drive.
Yeah, GitHub is and unless you're writing a lot of code, GitHub has a lot of overhead to it that will slow beginners down. I mean, that's been my experience.
Yeah, and it's gotten better, but
I mean, GitHub is great if you just stick with the web. As soon as you go with one of the clients on your computer, it becomes a lot more, I found a lot more complex, but they have some really great features. But yeah, I mean, I agree, for what you're doing, it may be overkill.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make. I'm it for that Dungeon Master project I was just telling you about. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, right now Google Drive is working for us to send stuff back and forth. But okay, so
At Google Drive, you could do versioning now, in docs and everything. So
But if we want to get, for our project, if we want to get exposure with devs who could really get things rolling after we come up with a toy model, that's what we want to do. We want to move towards GitHub because nobody will touch us if we're not on GitHub.
yeah,
GitHub-
devs definitely are GitHub centric.
yeah, and the thing is, although GitHub is, a third party, Git itself is a fully decentralized collaborative development tool.
Yeah,
Doesn't
this
depend
is
on anybody. It's peer to peer.
Yeah. Although
Yeah,
GitHub
yeah.
is now owned by Microsoft, right? They bought it a couple years ago.
They
Yeah.
did?
Yep. And Microsoft is, though, the world's biggest contributor to open source.
But is GitHub spyware the same way Google is? Like, are we feeding a giant AI machine when we're using
Well,
GitHub? I don't think so.
I think you're always feeding it.
Yeah.
You know, I went for a blood test the other day, and there's a woman probably about my age, you know, and now when you check in at the blood test place, you know, they want to see your driver's license. And yeah, she was like all up in arms about, and I just said to her, they've got your information anyway. I mean, your driver's license number is public. I mean, I think we've lost the battle of the cyborgs.
Well, yes and no. I think that we always, need to be fighting that because Google is one thing. Like giving your license to somebody and then that information is out there. That's one thing. But using engineered behavior modification, the way Google and Facebook does, that's a whole other realm that I think is truly scary and something we need to kind of find a solution for.
Well, that's true. I mean, on one hand, I've always said if you really want to be off the grid, you got to move to Alaska or something.
Yeah.
But personally, I do not go on Facebook, and you know, I will not go up there to even wish somebody a happy birthday. But you know, I would say 99% of people in my circle are still up on Facebook. So
Right. Yeah.
It's
Right,
really
but you see,
hard.
the thing is, you're stuck with Facebook. If you're using Git for developing, you can use GitHub if that's okay with you, or GitLab if that's okay with you, or not use any of them if that's, you know, simply send your updates to somebody else who then, you know, can commit them someplace else. You know, so you're really not forced to trust anyone in particular. And the things on GitHub generally are open source anyway. You're not hiding much. You do have an account on GitHub, but I don't even think, I mean, that's can be tied to an anonymous email, a pseudo-anonymous email or something. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to give away any of your identity information.
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, so
Sorry.
in any event, yeah, no, like, so GitHub's cool. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you guys are using for that project, go for it. But like, I guess I guess going back to my original question, what are we doing here?
Well, I was proposing that what we do here is that GitHub site, and I think you added to that we are going to have some Google document as well, right? So we can put a link to the Google document into GitHub, and then the people that want to work in GitHub can work in the GitHub side, and the people that want to work on the Google document side can work on that side. I mean, we have some people that just refuse to get a Google account. You know,
Who? They wear tinfoil on their heads. Who doesn't have a Google account?
I have a Google account, but I also have the tinfoil. I don't, you know, I just don't subscribe to the surveillance capitalist, you know, approach of Google. You know, every single Google Doc is adding to their giant AI machine. You're fueling an industry that is ultimately potentially going to bring humanity's demise. So, you know, but I'm guilty as charged. You know, I have a Gmail account, and you know, I use Google all the time. But you know, part of my reason for being involved with OurChain is to help to design an alternative.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just from a pragmatic perspective, though, I mean, there's alternatives. I have some friends that are using some alternatives now, but it's just it's you have to pick your battles, and like, what are you actually trying to do? Are you trying to fight the good fight, or are you trying to get something else done? It's like the difference between using like Adobe versus using the free and open source versions of those image editing software. I mean, have you tried using GIMP or Inkscape? It's fucking impossible. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's just like, why? Like, yes, I don't want to use Adobe. Fuck Adobe. But like, is the point to not use Adobe, or is the point to get this like graphic done so I can move on with my life and do something else? So, I mean, okay, fine, whatever. But I guess in terms of my actual question, though, is this group now an art on the blockchain group? And are we developing Keybase chatbot things, or what? How are we sort of defining what we're doing here outside of the tools that we're using for doing it?
I wouldn't limit it to our Keybase. Yes, I will be involved with, putting our contracts, hooking them up with Keybase. Keybase gives us a connection to real money.
Real money and identity we can work with now. I mean, without that identity, we can't even. We're dead in the water.
Yeah.
And we got it with Keybase.
As far as just writing our contracts, and developing our functionality. Okay, I see that as being a robot function, which I'm blockchain agnostic. I think we have to define them. We should define them, I think, in Rolang. But in terms of implementing them, I mean, I don't care whether they're, if a few people want to get together and work on putting them on Ethereum, I'll hang out. I'll work with them. Or now we're on to the Telos network through Big Life. So we're going to want to put them on there too. Okay.
Well, I guess because what I'm trying to figure out, and I was telling some of the other guys before you guys jumped on the call, what I'm trying to figure out. So I have to go present like what we're working on right now next month, right? I'm going to go to Money Lab, and I'm trying to figure out whether I can present what we're working on in this group, or whether I have to just sort of present my like sort of detached ideas about what could happen, right, rather than what is happening. Right now, I can't present art on the blockchain as it currently stands because it doesn't really reflect a lot of the things that we've been sort of talking about. Like there are certain things that are being cherry picked out of what I've been saying, but it doesn't really reflect the primary fundamental purpose for its existence, right? So at that point, I have to kind of present a more abstracted perspective on, well, this is what could happen, right, if we were to do things the right way.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to have it ready for you to show in November.
Well, it doesn't have to be ready to show. It's more about the narrative, about what's the direction that things are going in. You know what I mean?
I think that this is part of it. I mean, this is a use case. We are creating art right now and putting it in the can, right? So we have these things, these artifacts that we're creating, and we put these artifacts together, and I guess artifacts by definition are art, right?
Not necessarily. It's about how it's framed. Art requires that it be framed as art, and it is ultimately a very specific thing, right? And the distributed art object framework is that part of the framework that needs to exist in order for that to happen on the digital level. But the 50%, it's only 50%. The other 50% is there being a real artist involved and like a real curator and a real gallery. That's half of the equation, right? And so we can't just develop chatbots and say, okay, now this is art.
Well, wait a second. That's your job. You're the leader. We just developed chatbots and the transfer agreements and the other things. You are the orchestrator of this.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, right now it doesn't feel like I'm necessarily in charge of anything. So like I'm asking you guys what direction you want to go in, so just I have clarity about how I can better contribute to what's going on here.
Yeah, my understanding was this was a project. I mean, this was an example of art that we were creating, along with the stuff. The ERC 721 non-fungible tokens, and now we're adding other stuff to it as well. And this all goes into the transfer agreement contracts that we're developing.
But we still need to do the two fundamental things, which is hashing and distributed storage, in order for the file to be individuated, right?
Well, we have that sort of already. I mean, hashing we have, if we can hash anything, it's just a command. You know, one command, you can get a hash from the command line anyway. And, you know, and from my point of view, I was going to add, you know, put it, you know, add it to our chatbots, you know, so that we could say, you know, something like art bang hash, you know, store this document, and it gives you a hash, whatever. You know, so, you know, provide some simple command interface to the functionality we're creating. And then if somebody else wants to create some other fancy GUI, fine. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just interested in making it work.
Yeah, it's really, I see all these bots we've been building as just examples of trying to show what we can do. I mean, they're very primitive, but
Yeah.
but
I wouldn't say that they're not. I wouldn't say they're primitive. I mean, I grant that I haven't been following it completely, but I think they're actually fairly complex, right? You have to put very specific commands in to get specific responses.
So,
Yes,
so Gary put his starry plow image, okay, in the distributed file system of Keybase, and we didn't put a contract on ArcChain for that yet, but its contract is sort of in the text of the channels. It's not enforced by a blockchain, but it's a contract nonetheless, insofar as it is defined. And then he also demonstrated how he made some changes to it to make it derived work, and then he used the what is it, the IACC stuff to see that, to find that it was a indeed a derived work. What did you use, Gary? I forget.
let me go to the log in the channel, because I put everything in there because I knew I wouldn't remember it. Where's the Art on a Blockchain channel? Why do I always Blockchain Art? There it is. Okay. So let's go back in history here. Yeah, and you ought to watch that Saturday meeting that we just scanned by.
Was it in Discord? Has it been posted in Discord?
Yeah, Discord and the Blockchain Art channel.
Yeah, maybe. I guess I was I was in a session all day Saturday. It's probably, I haven't checked Discord in since middle of last week, I think.
Okay, here we go. So I compared two identical starry flags, and it told me they were at a Hamming distance of 0 from each other. Then I scribbled on one copy of the image, and it told me there were 8 Hamming distance units from each other. Less than 26 Hamming distance units suggest a copy with only minor changes. This is quite different from cryptographic hashing, where even 1 pixel change gives a totally different hash. Okay, so that's with p-hash. Okay, that was p-hash.
What's p-hash?
P-hash is a no, I'm sorry, that's not p-hash. What this was cryptographic hashing here. I'm sorry. Okay, this represents perceptual hashing. We've got cryptographic hashing and perceptual hashing. Perceptual hashing allows you to see that a work is derivative quite readily. And
so, you copy and paste a file and 1 bit is different, it'll show you that it's different.
Right. So in comparison to, say, in the big world of Bitcoin, if you change 1 pixel in the Bitcoin world, the entire hash is completely different. With the versioning, what Gary's talking about, if you change that 1 pixel, the hash are almost identical, but but just a slight difference. So.
Yeah. And when we get over to this ISCC, content identification on the blockchain, it gets even better. I'm going to close that Zoom window.
So perceptual hashing is just like where if you change one pixel, the hash changes slightly. Cryptographic hashing, the whole thing changes.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. So
we go on down here and we see there were some false starts here. But right here, I say, oh, wait, I was comparing the wrong part of the identifier. Here's the correct output for starry flags, comparing two very similar starry flags.
Oh, you implemented ISCC.
Yeah. And so I ran ISCC on my computer, and it told me that the two starry flags were 90% the same. And then I compared totally different content, and it said it's 50-50. I mean, one bit, I'm thinking that's what the 48% means. That would be, our threshold would be up in the 80s and 90s for derivative works. Okay, but it gets
which type of hashing are they using? Do you know?
They're using different. They use all kinds of hashings in this ISCC.
Oh.
It's perceptual hashing as its kind is perceptual.
Oh, so then you got a 90% for the image.
Yeah.
Now,
but here was something even cooler, and I thought I put it in the channel.
wow, I missed all of this. Wow, I've just been out of the loop. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, now I took ISCC and I had Moby Dick as an HTML page, and then I had Moby Dick as a flat text file or plain text.
Mm-hmm.
And ISCC said these are 100% identical as far as looking at them. The content is 100% identical.
What?
It's Moby Dick.
But one was a JPEG and one was a text file, and it said they were identical.
No, one was an HTML page and one was just flat, a flat white text screen.
Oh.
HTML.
Oh, wow.
And it said they were this is how good this thing is. It can look into different kinds of documents and determine that, oh, these are the same. Now, when you get into images, it's a different ball game. But ISCC also does images.
That's crazy. Now, the thing that is, though, that's all right. So, like, my understanding of this is that it's really set up to assist in the tracking of content as it disseminates through the web. So, in the case of journalism, if CNN uses a picture that I took on my cell phone and I edition it through ISCC, it's given that unique hash, but then there's an identifier that will then lead back to it. So with whatever tracking service or content rights management system I'm using, it'll be easier to track as it sort of goes through the web, right? With art, we don't necessarily always want that. Like in most cases, we want it to be the opposite of that, where we don't want parity between HTML and .txt Moby Dick. We want whatever that specific file is that we say this is the original file. No other file will match with that one that we've editioned that way.
Yeah, we could do that with cryptographic hashing, no problem.
Right, and it's not that it's one thing or another. Okay, I think in terms of whatever we call it, the certificate of authenticity, is going to have a number of different measures.
Absolutely.
Okay, that identify it.
And these will all be used in the contract for the sale of the value, for the transfer of the value.
And this is where the ERC 25 and 35 come in terms of identity and claims verification.
ERC 35. I haven't heard of that one.
725 and 735 identity. Now, we can forget about that initially.
Yeah. But we need to have a
You know,
conceptual idea of how they work.
You know, there's, you know, for now, you know, the name of it can be the identity, whatever. But we, you know, we do need certain things, and it makes sense to follow the standards where we can. We don't have to. One of the arguments you'll see in the end of the video from Saturday, Dan was arguing that the DIDs were useless.
Really?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
decentralized directory.
And it was a long discussion, and you ought to listen to it, Eric, and Mike,
Whoa.
possibly Michael and Ned and Daryl.
And you know, what we need to do is get him together with the identity woman, Kayela, you know, who's
Wait, Christina, you mean?
what?
With Christina, you mean?
No, Aaliyah Young, the identity woman.
Oh, I thought that was Christina Bowen was the identity. No.
No,
Christina
Kalia.
Bowen is
She does maps,
Oh,
web pages.
oh, Aaliyah. Oh, that's why did I get them confused? All right, because I was talking to Christina, and I thought for some reason she was doing the identity project too, not just the mapping thing.
well, I think she's doing mapping of identity projects.
Oh.
But yeah, there's an identity thing going on. I mean, there's never identity things going on in Big Life. But
So can you summarize quickly why DID is useless according to this guy? Because like, it's not going to do anything.
he's saying it's redundant.
Because
he's saying microformat already can do what DID does.
What's microformat?
No, that's the other thing too. Who ever heard of microformat? No, microformat is pretty prevalent in terms of identifying stuff on web pages. Okay, but the DID standard is tied to schema.org. Okay, the whole ontology of the whole universe.
Yeah, that's like the thing. Like, it seems to me like anyone that's going to be creating any type of search engine in the future is going to be using DID.
Well, you know, DID is a way that, you know, is a way that we can have a directory that isn't dependent on the World Wide Web or any particular blockchain or anything.
Yeah, it's just an object. This is an object, and this is basically how all of the databases. Because here's the thing, like early on in the blockchain art thing, most of the companies were doing provenance, which is basically creating a distributed database, like just a directory for. They weren't doing anything else, just register your art on this database, right? But they were all using different standards. DID standardizes it. So now it doesn't matter what blockchain you're using.
You know, one of his complaints is it doesn't standardize it enough. And, you know, I think that's probably because we haven't studied it hard enough to see that, yes, there is a logical way we should apply the standard to do this. I mean, because, you know, the schemas.org is everything in the universe. So what is it we put in our DID?
Well, and also, again, there's the use case here for art is there is an established precedent. You know, like when we're ready, we're going to talk to some experts in this and really get some formatting down. That this is how galleries and I can tie us in with people in the archive in MoMA, right? Who can tell us how they're archiving stuff. But we have to be ready for that step, and then however we use DID will be in relationship to that, right? Like, we can't think in terms of universal. We have to think in terms of the specific use case, right? Just in the same way that music is going to have a different formatting because there's just different fields. Like if you look at iTunes, right? How does iTunes distribute music, and what's the metadata attached to each of those files? Well, there's maybe whatever 10, 15 whatchamacallits, that like fields, right, that are attached to it.
I haven't looked at this in too much detail, but if we look at schema.org creative work, okay, this is what wants to be the standard, okay, for a creative work. And then they have 1,000 subcategories of creative work. So it gets maybe too complicated.
Encoding.
I mean, we can see that this creative work here has a
Wow.
ton of information about it.
But it may not be the right information. Like already just looking at it, I'm like, this isn't necessarily the right information for art.
Well, the thing is that and you may find something better, but a subset of this is probably what you want.
Yeah, there's certain fields in there that are good. I mean, a lot of these fields are useful, but we'd still have to add other things, right? Like, for instance, editions. What number edition is this out of how many? Just something simple, stupid like that, right? Nope. Not that type of edition.
No?
No, an edition of an artwork is something that if I make a video and I go to a gallerist, right, they will make an edition of 5, 10 videos, right? One, which is the artist's proof. And then those other 5 or 10 then can get sold to collectors, right? And it's just, that's authenticated as the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's super important information. This is edition number X of how many. That's like just baseline for an art object too, you know. I mean, maybe single edition, right? Like Benton is obsessed with this idea of single edition. I say like, well, yes, maybe if I want there to be only one copy of this video in the universe, fine. But then there has to be room for other people that maybe want 5 or 3 or 10 or however many, 100 even. Like, so if you go to the sedition.com website, they sell digital art, and you can buy an edition by Yoko Ono for like, there's 250, there'll be like 250 editions. However, it's super arbitrary and siloed because you can only access that Yoko Ono piece through the website. And if they go out of business, you're fucked.
Well,
Schema.org.
Eric, you talk about editions in the case of something like fine art, a painting. You would talk about prints of that.
That's reproduction. That's a completely different category. That's like people that are using the rights to an image.
No, but I mean, if it's a woodcut or something, I mean, there is no original. The prints are the original.
Yeah. Oh, if you're a screen printer, you're saying, or like a wood.
Absolutely, yeah. A wood
Yeah,
block
it's the same thing with video. It's the same thing with video.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. When a screen printer does an edition, they'll do an edition of 50 usually. Like I was actually just talking to someone about this last week because there's a bunch of my friends are screen printers at school, and they'll do 50 because it's like basically that's the amount that you can do in a day.
So it's an edition of 50, and all those 50 would be the same edition.
No, it's edition 1 of 50, 2 of 50, like you know which one it is. 3 of 50, 4 of 50.
Well, I think we're getting into just the meaning of words here, about the editioning and printing, but
well, it's you print it, but like then when the artist signs that individual print, they put their name and then 4 of 50, and then the next one is my name and then 5 of 50.
They might have printed 1,000, but if they don't do the 5 of 50, then you've got just a plain old copy of the work, worthless.
Yeah, how do you know what it is? It's like it's limited edition. You don't. They could have done a million. You don't know.
Okay.
From the point of view of the
I guess that's why we need artists.
From the point of view of the ERC 721, okay, we're going to do a make mint of the art, and then basically you're going to mint a token for each one of 52, a 53, a 50. So, from the token mint, you'll make copies. I mean, that's pretty straightforward how that works.
Yeah, you can addition. That's the basic
And so
idea of using
so then
NFT.
each one's going to have each one is going to have each token is going to have that property of being
Individuated
signed,
like that.
signed by and
Well, yeah, and we want to embed that DID metadata in that token, right? But furthermore, the actual file itself should be differentiated too at a differentiated IPFS hash. So if we create 50 video files as part of an edition, there needs to be 50 video files up on IPFS.
that's a interesting question. I mean, interesting statement. I'm not 100% convinced.
Well, the reason is because we're trying to establish baseline ontology for the digital file as object, right? And so
Are
if
you
you
saying so that they shouldn't have the same hash?
no, no, they can't. And I understand what you're saying. You're saying we have one file and then we mint 100 tokens to access that file for the ticketing system.
I'm thinking, you'll have the hash for the file
It's
itself.
not how art. It's not that'll work for movies. That won't work for art. You know what I mean?
But the thing is that the hash that we're dealing with is not simply the hash of the actual file. Okay, it's the hash of the certificate of authenticity along with the file and the contracts that control the file.
It's what makes it it's what makes it a unique thing.
Well, also the timestamp, right? We add the timestamp in. So when that file was exported and then hashed, that time, that the specific instance of that hashing in time and space is also figured in. So then it can never be replicated because the time stamp is also figured in.
Well, that'll do it. But like you said, they all have some unique property. So the authentication, or they should. Maybe they don't. In some cases, they don't. Maybe CryptoKitties don't have anything particular about a unique copy. But
well, they do because they're tied to NFTs. So that's what makes CryptoKitties unique, and each one is differentiated in some capacity. Like the thing about CryptoKitties is they are non-fungible art objects ostensibly, but they're not art. They're not like they lack all the other requirements, right? But for just like a little cat trading card, it works, right?
Well, what would make that art?
CryptoKitties?
Your standards may be high, but I think there would definitely be communities that would categorize it as art. And as long as such communities...
Yeah, I want to destroy those communities, all right? Let's be very clear. I want to unapologetically destroy anybody that likes CryptoKitties, all right? We hate CryptoKitties here. CryptoKitties, bad. Bad, bad, bad. Those people are crypto fascists, and fuck them, all right? I want to be very clear. Just for the record, this is being recorded. Fuck CryptoKitties. I am writing a fucking epic takedown of the crypto art scene, right? I'll share it with you guys first before I publish it. But like, I want nothing to do with that or those people, right? Because they're wrong. It's when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And this is the problem. And this is what this is what I really need to be clear with you guys. We need to avoid those mistakes if they're all made, right?
Okay, but CryptoKitties is a type of generative art. I must say that it is generative in that from the original primitive CryptoKitties, all these other CryptoKitties evolve. And so to me, it's it's a toy model. How it exploded like it did is that's crypto fascism. But that's lack of creativity on the part of the users.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's a pure speculation market. That's fundamentally what it is. They used NFTs, right, to create tradable assets with a secondary market built into it, right? The fact that the kitties have graphics is secondary to the fact that they created ERC 721s and then created a secondary market for it that enabled them to be bid up to hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? And that was what was interesting and compelling about it. And that's fundamentally, I mean, the crypto art people are fundamentally interested in finance. They're interested in the secondary market speculation of anything that has value. The fact that it's art is secondary.
Yeah, that's not where we're going, but the model of CryptoKitties, and I'm talking about the technical model. I'm not talking about the phenomena. I'm not interested in the phenomena in the least, but this idea,
But it's devoid. It's the reason it's not art is because it's operating completely outside of the art infrastructure. 50% at least of this equation is artists and the art infrastructure that gives things the art framing, right? You can't create a blockchain system and expect the thing you're creating to have value without the human aspect that gives that thing value, right?
Well, yeah, I think we need to start talking about here between, just plain old human creation and art. And we need to start talking about where do we want to draw the line? We're all creative people. We're not all artists. You tell us how we can use these non-fungible tokens in the art market.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to. I think I've been trying to.
Yeah, well, I keep going. Yeah.
The NFTs are going to be used, right? Like the way I see it working is it unlocks access to that specific location in IPFS, right? And it refers back to the certificate of authenticity and the smart contract, right? So the thing that I hold in my wallet is the NFT, right? And because I have that NFT in my wallet, that's the stand-in for ownership, right? As it relates to the certificate of authenticity and the smart contract, which gives you access to that location in the IPFS cloud. So but it doesn't replace the actual art. The NFT is not the art, right? There's still the file or files or whatever things stored in the cloud, right?
Yeah, which is represented by some hash, and we'll choose which hash we want to use for this particular artwork.
Or some physical piece of art.
The CryptoKitties is using the NFT as the art itself.
Yeah. No, I do see. I see the point you're making now. No, that's not what we were intending at all. Yeah.
So it's not that we're not using it. Like Benton doesn't even want to use NFTs. He just wants the thing to exist as a distributed blockchain. I'm saying, well, no, NFTs are really useful for buying and selling stuff, but like the whole infrastructure, that's like the last buying and selling stuff, distributed ownership. That's the very, very, very last thing you want to worry about.
But we're not worrying about NFTs because of the future market. We're worrying about NFTs because NFTs give us the ability to manipulate the art object electronically and with algorithm.
Potentially, but you don't need it to do that. It can just be a JavaScript page that generates something, or it can be like there's the world that I'm in.
But the NFT gives us the ability to transfer the ownership of that JavaScript web page.
Yes.
And so that's what we as the technical people are focusing on. And I think you're wrong to think that we're doing it because we're worried about creating a crypto kitties market, or even worried about, selling some works of art. I don't even care about that. I'm more interested in developing the community within any of these, a collaborative community. Then it can be a collaborative of one, but a community that can create these AOTVs and then transact with them. Use them in trade.
The token, the 721 token is not really a thing at all. It's an interface. Okay, we create the art object any which way we want. And then we create a 721 interface so that people can buy and sell it.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't do anything for the art object itself.
It does nothing.
It just allows us to buy and sell them.
What I would love
is that what this is all about?
Buying and selling.
Is this only to be assured that we can buy and sell?
No, it's so we can.
I've heard it in the last four present comments.
Yeah, well,
ownership, property, selling, unitary existence.
Yeah, and like what I'm trying to say is there's a whole other level to this, which is archiving, right? And
what I get, but it was raised that the primary issue is this interface with the market, to which you responded actually, Eric. No, that's got nothing to do with it. It's just there.
Yeah,
but it is just there. And
well,
it is there for lunch. It will eat your art, man.
Well,
unless you get this interface right, unless you're clear about why you want to digitize the art object.
I want to digitize the art object so we can create soft unions, and so people can start extracting 15% artist resale royalties from the resale of their work. The market is implied here. It already exists. Like, we're not reinventing anything. We're just hacking something that already exists.
You're looking for acknowledgement of source.
No.
I mean,
it's kind of like,
because once you've got that, you can do something like a contract that offers a 15% deal, right? That's what you're saying is.
Yeah, it's just a simple tool that people can use.
What are we doing with it?
Participate in the market that are completely locked out. There already are these structures. Like, we can't reinvent the wheel entirely, right? In this context right now, all we can do is build a very simple tool that helps people that are making fine art digital works to edition those works themselves, right? And then assert agency within the market, right?
Right.
And then once they can do that, then we can start pushing further and further reconstructing things. But right now, the systems and the communities that already exist, there already are a lot of communities for making work, right? All we're trying to do is empower them right now with a very simple tool. And I'm laying out very clearly what the steps are in order to empower those people.
So it's to identify the art object. It's to put into the chain how it came to be. What were the components of creation? Those are the first two things. The third one would be to have a contract for instance, for the 15% or something. But it's a condition of the art object's transfer to different owners or identities that this smart contract is an embedded function.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Right now, no. Like, absolutely.
Well, I think all the pieces are there, aren't they?
I think they are. We just have to execute on it.
Yeah.
And like that's just like right now, that's just the very basic thing that needs to happen.
Yeah. Right.
Move forward with all these other things. And it's just that one tiny tweak that you have agency over your work. There's a few different things that need to be built into the contract in addition to the 15% resale royalty. Like, there's other stipulations, like how can it be exhibited? How does it get upgraded? How can it be exhibited? These are all stipulations, right, that we write.
Contract conditions embedded in the smart contract.
But once we do that and we get people using it, then we can start pushing and giving and creating more expansive tools for people to start reimagining how value works and how it functions ecologically. But right now, there's sort of this union mentality that needs to be sort of created with people creating content that, oh, if we all start doing this way, we can now assert control in the market in a way that was not previously possible.
It's got to be better than if we all. If we all, then nobody. Everybody backs off and goes, no, it's got to be, this has got to work for me to do this.
Well, it's got to work for me, yeah, but also like the dozens of other people in my community.
That'll be a consequent benefit. But unless it works for me, I'm not going to do it. So the me component of what's in it for me has got to be a central consideration. Because if you don't make that work,
for me personally, I mean,
now each creator who's going to say, click, I'm on this.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's modular, so people can sort of put in the stipulations. Like this is again, like I've worked with multiple people over the years that have very strong ideas about how this should be done, and I'm actually the moderate, right, in this community.
Oh yeah, I know. There's some hardliners out there, right?
And I'm the one that's saying, like, look, not everyone wants to use this the same way, so we need to bake in modular options that gives people the option of how many editions do you want? Do you want a resale royalty? Do you care whether or not someone sells the work or who they sell to? Like one of the things is like, can the artist sign off on who their works get sold to, right?
That's an option. That's a consideration. Yeah.
No, I mean this is like
of
a gallerist. Like if I'm an artist and I sell my work to somebody, right, and like they then turn around and sell my work to a totally disreputable collector, that could totally damage my reputation and the further future sales of my work.
The hell with what but I don't want it to happen. You know, it's just
so you need that type of control mechanism needs to be baked ultimately
into the contract. So
the artist can sign off on it, not just like who owns it. Like some rich collector guy is going to own it, you know. But like the artist is still through that process able to assert agency. What if that collector wants to show it at like the Saudi Arabian palace, and you're like, no way, dude, that's like totally not okay.
Like that, able to assert agency.
Yeah, like this, like that's like being able to sell the thing is just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath that are all the mechanisms of control that enables the artist to assert their agency moving forward, right? Which is really kind of what I'm more interested in, rather than just enabling people to buy and sell stuff. Does that make sense?
It is. So where do the tokens come in as part of the necessity?
The token aids collectors in improving ownership. Because it's the thing that is located in your wallet that you have, so to speak,
and that you can transfer.
You can transfer,
but
and it's
one
also
token. That's one token. Then
the ownership is also going to be registered in their certificate of authenticity in the provenance registry, which is it's just a registry, right? So like that information is going to be doubled in both places, but that also then further reinforces the objectness of it and like that it's being transferred.
Okay. So you've got the objectness. What's the token for?
The token is to prove ownership.
So the token then is singular, and it's you got it, and that's it.
Yeah, non-fungible token.
For right now, yes.
A non-fungible token is the representation of the art object.
It's not the representation. It's just I don't want to use the word
token of it. So it defines its ownership. The carrier.
It's an integral part of the art object. One NFT is an integral part of each art object.
Yeah, I mean, there's more complicated schemas that can be.
No, it's lovely. It's lovely. So that's fine, right? So you've got the thing. You've got a label on it, right? Ding, which is the token. The token is transferable to the owner, but only in terms of the contract. The token only moves according to this contract.
And the contract can be as elaborate as you want it.
And it can be as simple as we like. So
That's right.
we can set that up as a simple modular with a couple of conditions. Take it to the world as a simple sort of, here's an option. File this on your which whatever.
Yeah, and that's what I say. What we should be doing here, Eric. To your first question, what we should be doing technically right now is we've already sold an object, and it wasn't an art object. In fact, it was ripped off from Wikipedia, but it's it's a flag of the Irish socialist movement. So I think it's open domain by now. But
is that what that is? Is that what that picture is? The Starry Plowman is the Irish Socialist Movement?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I saw an Irish Socialist meme this morning, and I was kind of wondering about that.
The Starry Plow is actually the precursor to the hammer and sickle.
Really?
Yeah, the plow symbol. They changed the plow, which is a knife. Turn your spear, your swords into plowshares. That's what the thing on the front is. Well, they didn't like the biblical reference, so they changed it to a hammer and sickle instead of the coulter, which is what the plowshare is, and the blade or the tiller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it precedes the hammer and sickle. But my point is, what we should be doing as a group right now, at least technically, is we've already sold our first object. I sold Steve something. But now someone needs to resell an object, and the contract needs to transfer 15% of the sale price over the original sale price back to the creator of the art object. That's where we are now. I see that as our next step, and I think that would be a toy model that you could actually present if you embellished it enough. And
So,
but do you
but
agree?
I think I don't think we've done anything yet. I mean, what we really need to do is we need to, complete this thing. If we're going to make a new art object, we have to do that before we can sell it. Okay, and
we have to do it before it exists.
Contract art OBJ. So is that the designation that we're using?
I'm just calling it an art object here. We can call it anything we want. I mean, the name.
No, it's good. Like so that's like what we'll start calling art, or is that like the function?
Yeah,
This is
it's a contract. We don't have
contract. Okay, and it's going to have so far I have a buy and a sell method and an information. Get info about the art object. I presume it's going to have. I didn't give it any info here. I presume we are going to have a mapping of information that we're going to store in it. Now, the certificate of authorization could be that map of information about it. But this is an evolutionary process. We start off with something simple. So we have new buy sell info, and I assume that we're going to have a resell contract. And I was going to make the standard one here, so we can, and of course we can make any contract we want and create an art object that obeys that resell agreement. So, okay, sell, buy. Okay, I guess I shouldn't put price here. It's a wrong thing. Okay, I could put purse, but you're not supposed to pass purses around. So what this needs to be is a payment, which is a kind of object.
Well, yeah. What's the price? Well, price.
A payment can be anything. It doesn't have to be money.
Yeah, it's actually interesting.
Anything, it doesn't
then,
have
like,
to be
you can
money.
send other things other than, let's say, rock. You could send something else instead of rock that satisfies the condition.
Yeah, I mean, the whole payment. Okay, I put a link in here to it, to to our where is it? Yeah, oh, where did I put it? Here's the maintenance. Okay, this is essentially the maintenance is the way we mint a token, so to speak.
Mm.
Um, and
What are those hashes from?
oh, those are unfortunate names. Oh, this is a secret key, and this is a public key.
Oh, okay, word.
Okay, it's just in here as comments for this. But usually, you'll have some example that'll run with these contracts. So it's going to do some specific example of of using this. But this defines the purses. This basically is how we're going to deal with our money.
Interesting. And so rolling lets you, this is our chain lets you mint tokens on top of Rock.
Yeah, you can mint anything, and these, like they were saying in the video when you watch that video from Saturday. You told me, you could payments can be anything.
Interesting. So the bot will be watching to see that payment has been fulfilled, or like what's watching this?
There is no watching at this point. Okay, in terms of the interfaces that we're modeling, there is watching. There are events that are happening for Ethereum, but it's not clear what events we need here. I mean, so I'm going to explicitly offer something for sale, and I want to get paid a bicycle or whatever. So I would have to make a bicycle payment object or something, so that they would give me a bicycle to buy my CryptoKitty, whatever.
Bicycle payment object. So that's like basically the variable that holds the current price of the bicycle.
That's what this is the thing that I can do because I'm an admin, is I can sell this. Okay, now actually the buy here is not an admin function. That's an art object function. Oops. What's going on here? Okay, so the art object is something that anybody can call. Now you could make a contract where not anybody could buy it. You could restrict who could buy it. But by making this art object, buy, sell. Interesting. So I want to give that, in other words, the payment is a capability that is associated with this. Art object is the name of the contract, so it's not the name of the art object. I don't know. I'm going to just make this an art object in the old way we did with small talk.
Mm-hmm. But why are you calling it an art object and not just using contract art object?
Because that's the name of the contract.
Oh, okay, and this is the individual object itself.
We're making a new art object. And so I'm going to put created here in the new and art object. Okay, so anybody who has this address and art object can buy it.
Which is the address? Anart OBJ.
Yeah, it's just an unforgeable name. It's created by the new statement. Okay, and it gives you capability to do a buy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you know the name of the art object, you can buy it. But it's unforgeable. You can't.
Wait, so it's called, just for my head, can we call it something else? Can we call it, instead of an art OBJ, can we call it Eric Video Art or something? Just so I separate the contract from the name of the object.
Well, that would be the next step, wouldn't it?
Well, see down here, we're gonna make a new Eric Video, right? And we're going to do a art OBJ new. And we have once a certificate of authentication, which for now, let's just put something name, Bitcoin, who, I don't know. I don't know what's going to be in the certificate.
Wait, so what's so new Eric Video in art object? So in other words, which is the actual object here? Eric Video or Cool Vid?
Well, the actual, well, we're making it right now. Okay, so let's see, I need a certificate of authentication. I need an owner.
For now
I'll just put Eric for now.
Put Eric.
Okay,
Grayson.
I should put like an identity here.
Yeah.
Eric's DID, whatever.
Or Keybase username.
Which would be Eric Barry Drazen. BARRY DRASIN.
Oops. What is this? I'm just going to pass it another thing here, which
colon.
Colon.
Not comma.
Ugh.
No, not not that comma.
Okay. So there's probably going to be a DID here, but for now, I'll just assume we have some fully qualified thing of a person here. Okay, the resale contract. Well, we're only going to make one, so I'm going to make the transfer agreement. Okay, I didn't define what this contract does yet, but this is the transfer agreement that we're going to write the code for. And this should have a comma here. And then I'm going to get back some owner permission. Or we could make that capabilities more general. I'll just call it caps, and I'll end it there. Okay, so oh, what is going on here? Okay, so I'm going to
You
So
need,
this-
you need a closing brace there.
So is this is rolling, huh?
Yeah. We don't have functions in Rolang, we have contracts.
And so, okay, but is the contract basically a function?
It's yeah, but not technically, but yeah, you can think of it that way.
So you can pull in other contracts, like nested contracts, into a top level contract.
Yeah.
yeah, this is, you know, it's really, you're really listening on the name art object for this pattern. And when you get this pattern, then you do something.
So
And if
certificate.
you want to return a value, you have to pass a channel that it's going to return the value in.
Now, are these referencing is new cert of auth owner real resale contract and caps? Are those all being instantiated here, or are those contracts that exist elsewhere?
We are doing those.
Yeah, we're just defining a pattern. We're saying we're going to call it with new.
Okay, and then, so when we
So-
call
so
the new
if
art
this-
object, it's going
if
to
this
pull
guy-
that
if
data
this
from.
guy-
It's
if
going to
this
pull
guy-
that data from other places.
I'm sorry?
So when you call the new art object, that's going to call. It's going to pull data from other contracts, the certificate of authenticity contract, the owner contract.
No, when you call that art object, you're going to provide all those fields.
Yeah, these are the arguments that you're providing.
Oh, okay, okay. So where
Okay,
where
you're telling the art object, this is what I want to do, making new. Here's the certificate of authentication. Here's the owner. Here's the resale
and
contract.
so where do you put that? Where do you fill that data in, or do you just?
I'll do it down here in the call where I'm making an actual Eric video.
Okay. Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
Okay, and we probably should quit, or I probably should quit pretty soon. I've been at this for a while, but you know, I think this is the kind of thing we can make progress on.
Okay. Okay.
And you know, we can. In fact, there's a 4 o'clock work study today. If nothing else is happening, there's no reason why we couldn't take the next steps on this.
Okay. Well, you need
All right.
you need a closing brace down at the bottom, Jim. It bothers me.
There we go.
Thank you.
And we can.
And so you're saving this just locally on your machine, or is this being saved to the Archain?
This is where am I? Right there. Okay. Who am I here? Okay, I am on. I'm on robot. I'm on the Archchain account on Robot, which is a shared account. So basically, we can all access this code on the Robot.net machine. We're in the Robot thing. We have art. So why can't I do a row exec? Okay, I have a row deployed, a row exec. Row exec art. Row. And we can try to run it. And of course, we didn't finish it, but we got a syntax error. Line 4, character 20. Didn't like our cell.
Cell.
Oh, I know why, but I thought it would give us a better error than this. Okay, you know, in Rolang, we send processes and receive names. So I can't receive cell in quotes as a string, but it's actually a process that has the value of cell, of the string cell.
So it's a subroutine?
So if I put an @ sign in front of it, it makes it a name.
Okay.
And that will fix that error.
In front of the
I made
quotes.
the same error here. And the same error here. How come we have 2 buys? I was going to
Do something else.
in the process of making a different thing.
Resale?
Well, cell. We already have a cell, whether it's a resale or a cell.
Yeah, we'll know whether it's a resale or not from the art object itself. Will have a record of.
Well, there has to be some identity here, right? And we'll have to look at that more, but somehow we have, I mean, whoever's running the contract is going to sign the payment. So we should be able to figure out who from the payment object. We have to look at how the payment objects work. Learn a little bit there. But I mean, we can play with this just by putting.
Would it make sense, Jim, to make like a map of some type or a list of variables? Like just like on a Google Doc, like just sketch out like, here are all the things that we need to have variable placeholders for?
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose we could do that, but I'm not sure how that's better than just having a list of them. I mean, we want to why do we want this by? So, oh, I see what I did. Yeah, this is not written right. I'm not awake. I'll improve this before 4 o'clock.
All right, I'll try and jump on for a little bit at 4. I don't know how long I can stay, but I'll jump on at 4 o'clock, probably for half an hour. I'm gonna go. I mean, let me go. I'm gonna go and it's like the sun is out. I'm gonna go run around like a little dog.
I gotta go and exercise my democratic privilege, so I gotta split. That was fascinating, guys. Very entertaining.
Thanks for coming, Michael. Yeah, sorry. It's going into like a technical wormhole, but
Oh well, it's interesting to see where the funnels lead. You know what the.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping that we quickly.
Very nice, Jim. Yeah. Yeah, I got the generality. A very interesting situation. Got to go, guys.
Yeah.
Art is on. See ya.
all right.
Bye, guys.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Life